Hi, I'm Jim Shaw, publisher of Lexington's Colonial Times Magazine and a board member here at LexMedia. And I'm sitting here with Kathleen Lenihan, who is a candidate for Lexington School Committee. This is another segment in our series of Coffee with the Candidates. This is something we've been doing for several years. And we like to do it because I think in a casual setting, we get to hear from you and the other candidates as to, what are the important issues for you, what motivates you, why you want to run. But before I get to that, I just, want to remind people that you're actively right now, currently the PTO president at Lexington High School.
Correct.
And that you've been active at both the elementary and Clark level. You were president of the PTO at Clark and the PTA at Bowman.
Correct, yes.
So very busy.
Yes.
I'm sure it keeps you very busy. You've been living here in Lexington since 2000, but your husband's a native.
He is. He is
coming home again.
He's a proud graduate of Lexington High School, class of 1989. And it was very clear we were going to move to Lexington.
Well, we're glad you did. We like having good people here in this town, so welcome, obviously. You're an engaged parent. We had talked about that before we started the interview. You're not a sideline. You're not a spectator. You like to roll your sleeves up and get involved. And you're a town meeting member?
Yes.
Precinct 4?
Precinct 4, yeah. And I really love being in town meeting. You really get a sense for exactly what goes into the running of the town. I don't think I've realized fully just how much the town runs on volunteerism. The amount of time spent by members of the Appropriations Committee and the Capital Expenditures Committee and the Board of Selectmen, the school committee, town meeting members, what goes into just putting together our materials.
The TMMA.
The TMMA. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, I'm currently not in town meeting, but I first ran when I was a senior in high school, at Lexington High School, and I've been in and out having represented 4 precincts, so I've been involved and I know how important it is. I'm just taking a break for now. Hopefully we'll come back.
Yeah.
You were also the co-chair of the Yes campaign for the debt exclusion for renovations to Clark and Diamond. So your commitment to schools, excellence in our schools, you want to carry on that tradition, obviously. You're not a newcomer to actually rolling your sleeves up and being involved.
No, that's true.
And you're a public high school teacher.
Yes.
Previously.
Before my oldest was born, I was a public school teacher. I was in Western Massachusetts at the Mount Everett Regional School District. It's a very small rural community. And then after I was married, I was a high school teacher, history teacher in Revere.
Oh, really?
So two very different communities and very different from Lexington, both of them. I loved it.
Great. So experience in the classroom, I'm sure, goes a long way to when you're trying to develop policy about how to deal with schools.
Yeah, once you've been a teacher and had that experience of being alone, the adult in the room with the kids, and all right, you need to get it done, that you never forget that.
At what point do you decide that you're going to control the situation, or will the inmates run the asylum, right? If I can be so crude.
No, you have to be. I learned very, very early on that it was very important to say what you mean and to mean what you say. And once you say it, you cannot go back, because all 25 of those children will remind you about that for the next 8 months.
Great. Well, that kind of leads me to, why. We've got 7 or so people running for the 1-year seat. So it's kind of a 2-pronged question I have for you. Why is it so important for you at this point? Obviously, with your resume, it sounds like the natural next step. But what is it that you'll bring to it? Why do you want to do it? And if you run and win, would you run again after a year is up, and then, because there obviously be another election?
You're right. It is a natural step, and people have asked me in the past, oh, so Kathleen, when are you going to run for school committee? And up until the day before I pulled the papers, I would have said, well, at some point. It was always this thing that was going to happen in the future. But when Bill Hurley resigned unexpectedly under very unfortunate circumstances. We wish him, the best in his health. It just really changed the dynamic.
Right.
And all of a sudden, people had to make a decision very quickly. Okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to run for this seat? Are we not?
And we have to tip our hat to Bill. I mean, it was not an easy decision
Oh,
for him,
not at
but he
all,
did it the way he did it because it would have saved the town a lot of money instead of having to hold a special election.
Yeah.
So as usual, Bill is always doing the right thing. So.
Yeah, and incredible shoes to fill on the school committee.
Yeah.
I just feel that, especially with this 1-year term, you really need somebody who's ready to go as soon as they sit in the big blue chair.
Right.
The learning curve for being a school committee member is immense. Even if you are as involved as I am, there's just the rules, the procedure, and it's easy when you're sitting in the cheap seats watching it. I think it's a much different experience when you're the person who's actually having to make the call.
Right.
And I just feel that it is so important, given the issues that our schools and our community is facing, that you need somebody who, even if they're getting up to speed a little bit on the nitty-gritty of being a school committee member, they are in up to their eyeballs on the issues, and they know what we're facing.
And you've dealt with, and this has been a theme for me as I'm talking with other candidates, the issue of collaboration, working well with the administration, working well with other school committee members. I have to assume that if you're president of the PTO at all of those levels, collaboration was a key part of getting the job done.
If you don't collaborate, you aren't really going to have much of a PTO. That is for sure. We're all, especially in a group that is comprised exclusively of people who are volunteering, you need to work well together. Nobody has to be there. If it isn't on some level satisfied, you're not getting paid to do it. So you are getting something else out of it. You're getting satisfaction about giving back to your community, doing great things for your kids. But if it isn't working, you'll find something else to do. So you really do need to respect each other's opinions and think about what the end goal is.
Well, I think it's important, like you say, when you're in the cheap seats, it's one thing, but when you've got a seat at the table, you've got to be able to respect what other people are saying, even if you have differing points of view.
Absolutely.
And because there's never going to be anyone you agree with 100% of the time, and it's important, particularly if you've got that kind of experience and you want to represent the perspective of parents. I think everybody comes to the school committee initially because they've had experience in the schools and they see a way of making it better. Are there any particular pet issues for you that you'd?
Well, I would say a pet issue for me. It's a large pet. It's like one of those Great Danes. Is stress our students are facing. I have 2 children at the high school and 1 child at Clark. So I have a 10th grader, a 12th grader, a 10th grader, and a 7th grader. Right. And I've seen it as we go along. There's a huge amount of stress at the high school, but it filters down throughout the grades. I remember when my son was in 4th grade, he said, "I'm really not looking forward to junior year." Junior year, I'm like, okay, let's focus on elementary school right now, because he was hearing his older sister talking about what's going on. Because I can assure you, we're not that kind of house where I'm like, all right, MCAS scores, let's check them out. We do not mention things like that, and yet he was still feeling that pressure. I mean, kids in elementary school talking about college, and that's.
Right, they have to focus on being kids.
Have to focus on being kids, yes. Right. So the stress kids are under at all levels is something that I've been, talking about, going to various meetings. My husband would say, "Well, is this group really going to do it?" I said, "Well, I don't know, but I know that if we stop trying, we aren't going to succeed." It's
there and it's very real. It's been something that my wife Laurie, who's the editor of the Colonial Times, myself as a member of town meeting in the past, we fought for continued funding. She was represented the school committee on a special committee just 2 years ago to deal with stress. It's very real and it needs to be dealt with, and it's an ongoing issue, and I imagine it's going to continue. There's no magic bullet.
No, and especially in a community as high-performing as Lexington, where parents and students in the community, we have a lot invested in our schools. We we take a lot of pride in it's a double-edged sword. It's really great when you see Lexington High School, #1, but then the other side is, wow, what goes into that? Are we maybe putting too much pressure on the kids? So
Right.
it's very tricky to find the right balance, and that it is, and just like a balance, if you're balancing on a ball, you're always working on that balance, because the moment you stop working, you fall.
Right. So what do you think of it? How would you approach an issue if you're sitting in the big blue seat, as you say? How do you begin to have a discussion on stress? I mean, or continue the discussion, I should say.
Discussion. Well, you listen. I think that's the most important part. I think that the microphone is up there, it's in front of you, it's sort of begging you to say things into it, but I think what's really important is to resist that at first and listen to what all the stakeholders are telling you, to listen to Dr. Jakowski and the other experts who come in to talk to you, and parents, and work with your fellow committee members, because nobody's alone in this. This is an issue that Dr. Jakowski is incredibly committed to this.
She sure is. We're so fortunate. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We're so fortunate to have here in this community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just the idea that she really took to heart the Beyond Measure. That was something that was spearheaded by Claire Sheth. This was a book it's a follow-up to The Race to Nowhere, and looking at...
Well, the turnout at Cary Hall for that was extraordinary.
It was extraordinary. We had a book discussion about it at Lexington High School. Again, a huge turnout. And... But I think it's very easy for administrators to pay lip service when a parent comes to them and says, oh, here's this book, I think you should read it. Dr. Jakowski could very easily have said, that's great, Claire, put it on her bookshelf and moved on to something else. But she didn't, and she worked with her. And what most excited me was the fact that they've incorporated this onto the leadership meetings. The different principals, they're reading different chapters, they're talking about it. It's not lip service. This is real, a commitment.
So we've got a few minutes left. As I told you, this goes by pretty quickly.
My goodness, it really does.
I told you. So let's get to a couple of sort of I guess brick and mortar issues, almost like, pardon the pun.
Well, we have some literal brick and mortar issues in our school system.
We're dealing with, and it goes hand in hand with overcrowding. And we're talking about the possibility of a 7th elementary school, or working within the confines of what we have. Why don't you share some of your thoughts on what you would do to sort of grapple with the issue of overcrowding and capital improvements, particularly at the high school?
Oh, the high school. That is the elephant in the room, because it is so very large. I think a priority, first of all, is to see through the purchase of the land at Pelham Road. Things like that just don't fall into your lap all the time. It's a very nice sized piece of property in a location that we need.
And if it goes away, we'll never have an opportunity.
We'll never get it back again. And especially the fact that it butts up against where the community center is. This is a no-brainer to me that we need to purchase that. And I believe the plan right now is to use the school that is there, that was the private school for the Armenian sisters, and to rehab that and use it for a pre-K, because we have, I think there are many people in town, they understand about, we have our elementary schools, our middle school, and our high school. A lot of people don't know that we have a town pre-K program that because when children, if they have special needs, when they turn 3 years old, that is when they come into the public school system, and they attend a pre-K program that is situated right now at Harrington, and it's 50% students who have special needs, but it's 50% students who don't have those needs. And you can't just throw an overmax aid into a preschool. There are very strict rules about that. And right now, I think it's possible we have children who are going out of district. They're preschool kids to get the services they need, and that's really unacceptable. And if we can use the Pelham property for that, now we have the space to attend to the needs of our youngest children, as well as we're freeing up space within Harrington that's desperately needed.
Right. And when you talk about excellence in these programs that we really do have an obligation to pursue, we also have to keep in mind, at least focus somewhat on the cost and keeping, check on the cost, because I know we've now gone over $100 million with the school budget for the first time.
We did.
So
it's a big number.
It's a big number. It's extraordinary, but it's important, that people understand that we're just not spending for the sake of spending.
Absolutely not. And in fact, there was concern about what happens in fiscal year 19. Are we going to have an operational override? And Dr. Jakowski and Ian Daly, he's the assistant superintendent with finance, and I'm not getting his total
That's okay.
correct name right, position right. They were really working at reducing that, and it has come down. What the projected shortfall might be.
Right. People don't see that. They just see the final figure. They don't understand that originally it was proposed to be this, but then the cuts, they make these hard decisions to say, okay, well, as much as we don't want to, we have to scrap this or we have to modify this. So hard choices are being made.
They are being made, and people, it's the people in the schools. They are not saying, oh, Lexington is a rich town, and let's just throw money at this willy-nilly. They're making very thoughtful decisions about what the best use of our funds are, and it's really, their dedication is a testament to what Lexington is, and that's part of why it would be exciting to be a school committee member, to work with people who are so on the ball and dedicated.
Well, you're clearly passionate about this. We're going to wind down. I don't know if there's anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to touch base on, but if not, what I'm going to ask you, and this may sort of be all encompassing. I'm a Lexington voter. Right? I'm going to go to the polls on March 6th. Why do I vote for Kathleen Lenihan?
Well, I think you vote for me because I'm ready to go. I do not need to be brought up to speed. You throw the acronyms at me, I know what I know what an ad hoc committee is. I know what it does and what it doesn't do. I understand why 600 kids we have 600 kids in the 6th grade total at Clark and Diamond, and we have over 600 kids in the 7th grade, total. That should scare people, because that means you are closing in on your high school classes of over 600. I know why that's a problem and why we need to do something about it.
And why we need to address it now and not kick the can down the road.
When you're looking at 2,400 kids at the high school in 2021. This isn't like the elementary school where it's a surprise, where it's hard to predict who's going to show up as a kindergartner. You know they're coming, and you know that we don't really have the ability to. What we do at the high school right now, that's going to be difficult to keep doing if there are 2,400 kids. And so I'm ready to go.
Well, it sure seems like it. Like I said before, from your resume, you obviously have been doing this for a very long time. If people want to learn more about who you are in terms of a candidate, or contact the campaign at all? Do you have a website?
I do. Well, I'm hoping by the time this airs, right now it's in its beta phase, but like I said, this has been a very kind of crazy, chaotic, not chaotic isn't the right word, but it's
chaos can be fun sometimes.
Well, chaos can be fun. When you knew you were going to be running for the 3-year, you might have been planning in October. This just, it just, launches on you. It will be www.lenihanforlexington.org.
Well, I wish you the very best. I wish we had more time to talk. I think you're very interesting, and you've obviously got some great ideas, lots of enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been great.
Well, we hope people will learn more about you through this, and I wish you all the best on March 6th.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.